If you haven't subscribed yet, you are sitting on a long thing. Hit that button now and join the family for the most exclusive updates you can't find anywhere else. Imagine a woman thrown into a pit of lions, fighting alone while those who should protect her watched from the balcony. Now that she has emerged victorious, the same people who were silent are now shouting the loudest for her return. Is this a genuine welcome or a trap set with golden plates? Today, we look at the Palace Women Traditional Council's sudden move to bring Queen Naomi back to the palace. Why now? And what exactly did they see in the secret corners of the palace that make them move this fast? Let's say a very short prayer. May every battle you are fighting in secret end in a public testimony, and may those who watched you struggle be the same people to carry your bag when you walk into your glory. Amen. The atmosphere in the land of the Golden Crown has changed. The air is thick. You could cut the tension with a jagged blade. The news is hitting the streets like a lightning bolt. The Palace Women Traditional Council has finally stepped out of the shadows. These are not just ordinary women. They are the backbone of the kingdom, the guardians who breathe life into the ancient customs. They have approached the Golden King and the Golden Crown elders with a request that has sent shock waves through the city. They are begging the Golden King to fix a date, a sacred day for Queen Naomi to return to her rightful place. They said they are ready to baptize her with honor. But wait, let's be real for a moment. This honor they are talking about, where was it when Queen Naomi was facing a fire she didn't start? Delaran tells us that these women are coming in their full authority, dressed in their most majestic regalia. They claim they have seen the truth. They have seen that Queen Naomi fought a war that no woman should ever have to fight by herself. They want to restore everything the enemies tried to steal from her. But as they stood before the Golden King, their voices calm but heavy with an urgency that moved the ground. You could feel the weight of years of silence. You see, this council is the moral compass of the palace. They are the eyes that see what the king might miss. They aren't there for politics or money. They are there for the spirit of the land. They are the ones who notice when the balance of justice is shaking. So if they are this powerful and this spiritual, why did they wait until the 13 elders were already disgraced before they spoke up? The council members are women of unquestioned integrity, or so we are told. They have studied the deep ways of the people, the spiritual well-being of the land of the Golden Crown. They are the first to smell corruption or deceit. But the question my Kaunji's friends and families are asking is simple. Where was this moral compass when the palace was smelling of betrayal? Reports tell us that among the 13 elders who were recently thrown out like common criminals, there were actually 3 women. And guess what? 2 of them came from this very council. This is where the story gets dark. It means the enemy was not just at the gate, the enemy was sleeping in the same room. Our people say, when a snake is caught, you don't just point at it, you must remove it so it doesn't cause more wahala. This was the spirit in their heart as they faced the Golden King. They weren't there for a party or a ceremony. They were there to demand that the truth be honored. They reminded everyone that Queen Naomi's mission wasn't just about staying in the palace, it was about cleaning the house. She was the one who pulled the mask off the faces of the 13 demonic elders who were hiding under the order of royalty to destroy lives. These men and women had ruined families, stolen land from widows, and even used dark witchcraft-linked activities to silence anyone who dared to look them in the eye. For years, they ran the palace like a private business, and nobody could touch them. But Queen Naomi stood her ground. Now the council is saying the palace holds her. They are saying it is time for the world to see that the light has finally conquered the darkness. But is the Golden King ready to open those gates? Is the palace truly ready for the storm that comes with her return?
The palace gates have never felt this heavy. My crown gist friends and families, the secrets coming out of the land of the Golden Crown are enough to make a person's hair stand on end. The Council of Women did not just go to the Golden King to plead. They went there to lay down the law of the ancestors. They spoke with a boldness that made the very pillars of the throne room tremble. They began to recount the atrocities of the 13 elders. Those people we now know were nothing but agents of chaos hiding behind the name of the Kabiesi. One by one, the women began to peel back the layers of the rot. They talked about how these 13 elders had held the kingdom in a chokehold for years. Can you imagine? These were the people closest to the Golden King, the ones who were supposed to be the eyes and ears of the land of the Golden Crown. Instead, they were using their proximity to the throne to commit acts that are too dark to even mention in the light of day. The council spoke of how one specific elder had made it his life's work to target widows. This man, under the false pretense of royal authority, would seize lands that had been in families for generations. He would sell them off to the highest bidder while the poor women cried to the gods for justice. And because he was an elder, the courts would look away. The law was blind because he had tied his hands with money and fear. But the wahala didn't stop there. The council revealed that another elder was in charge of the communal funds, money meant to develop neighborhoods, to fix the roads, and to help the struggling families of the land of the Golden Crown. Instead of using the money for the people, he was siphoning it into his own pocket, building mansions and living a life of luxury while the people he was meant to serve were eating from the dust. It was a cycle of greed that seemed like it would never end. Then there was the matter of the spiritual darkness. This is the part that makes the skin crawl. The council did not hold back. They spoke about how some of these elders had turned the sacred traditions of the palace into a playground for witchcraft. They weren't just using physical power, they were using intimidation, charms, and dark influences to assert control. If you opposed them, they wouldn't just fight you in the open, they would attack you in the shadows. They broke families with fear. They denied opportunities to brilliant children just because a corrupt elder had a grudge against their father. They manipulated traditional titles, selling them to people who had no character just to increase their own influence. But the tension in the room was so thick you could cut it with a jagged blade. The Golden King sat there, his face like a mask, as these women listed the litany of horror. They reminded him of how the people had no one to appeal to because the elders had created a wall of deceit around the throne. If you try to report them, your case would disappear. If you try to speak out, you are labeled an enemy of the crown. But then the council pointed their fingers toward the truth. They talked about Queen Naomi. They said that while everyone else was buying to the corruption, while the big men were shaking in their boots, it was this woman who stood up. She endured the trade of insults. She survived the intimidation. She looked into the eyes of these 13 demonic elders and refused to blink. The women told the Golden King that Queen Naomi's mission was not just about her being a queen. It was a divine assignment. She became the gatekeeper that the palace didn't even know it needed. She was the one who pulled the collars of these people, making it impossible for them to continue their schemes. Because of her, the land of the Golden Crown is no longer under the shadow of these 13 predators. They looked at the Golden King and told him plainly, without her intervention, these others would still be here. They will still be striving, still destroying the lives of ordinary people while you sat on the throne thinking all was well. The council made it clear that the palace owes Queen Naomi a debt it cannot be paid with silver or gold. It can only be paid with honor. They insisted that her return must be official, it must be sacred, and they must show the whole world that in the line of the Golden Crown, justice has finally won. But as they were talking, some people in the palace were whispering. They were looking at Olushado and the others, wondering how they would react to this news. You see, the palace is a place of many rooms and many secrets. Even though the 13 elders are gone, the spirits of jealousy and envy still haunt the hallways. The women of the council said they know people are still blaming Queen Naomi for the drama, but they don't care. They told the Golden King that the truth is out and the truth has a name. As the sun began to set over the land of the Golden Crown, the council's message was hanging in the air like a heavy cloud. They are not asking for a party. They are not asking for aswebi or dancing. They are asking for a restoration of the soul of the kingdom. They want the jewel, the queen herself, to walk back through those gates with the dignity of a victor. But the question remains, when the date is finally fixed, what will happen when Queen Naomi steps foot back into the palace? When the enemies who are still hiding in the corners stay silent? Or is this just the beginning of a whole new war? The suspense is rising and the palace walls are watching.
The silence that followed the council's speech in the land of the Golden Crown was heavier than a mountain. My Crown Gist friends and families, you need to understand the weight of this moment. We are talking about a palace that has been rocked to its very foundation. The Golden King, a man of immense power, sat on his throne, looking at these women who had finally decided to find their voices. The atmosphere was charged. You could cut it with a jagged blade. The Council of Women didn't just stop at the sins of the elders. They began to describe the spiritual atmosphere that Queen Naomi had to endure. They spoke of how she was surrounded by people who were smiling with her in the morning, but digging her grave at night. They talked about the shadow of royalty, how these 13 elders used the aura of the king's respect to cover their own darkness. It's like being in a house where the pillars are rotting, but the paint is gold. That was the palace Queen Naomi was living in. But let's look at the wahala of the situation. The council admitted that for a long time, everyone was silent. People were living in fear. Children were denied their birthrights, and land was being snatched from the poor as if it were common sand. These 13 elders were not just humans, they had become like gods in the land of the Golden Crown. They coordinated sacred activities with practitioners of the dark arts just to keep people intimidated. If you looked at them wrongly, they will use dark influence to make sure your life never remained the same. And in the middle of all this witchcraft, all this manipulation, stood Queen Naomi. The council told the Golden King that Queen Naomi was like a light that was too bright for the darkness to swallow. They recounted how she was accused of things she didn't do, how Olori Shadow and others were often used as pawns in a game of palace chess. But Queen Naomi didn't fight back with charms or insults. She fought with a spirit that the council now recognizes as divine. They told the king, Kabesi, if this woman was ordinary, she would have run away long ago. If she was weak, she would have been broken by the charms and the lies. They specifically pointed out how one elder used to manipulate disputes between families. He would create a fight where there was none, just so he could be the mediator and profit from both sides. He was sending innocent people into ruin while he was smiling and drinking the king's wine. Another elder was busy falsifying judgments in the local courts, ensuring that the person with the most money always won, regardless of the truth. These were the men Queen Naomi exposed. These were the untouchables she dragged into the light. But there is a twist in the story that will make you wonder. The Council of Women admitted that even they were sometimes confused by the deception. They told the Golden King that the corruption was so deep, it was like a sickness that had entered the blood of the palace. They said, we are the moral compass, but even a compass can spin wildly when the magnetic field is full of evil. This was their way of apologizing for their long silence. They acknowledged that they watched Queen Naomi suffer and did nothing, but they claimed that the scale of the evil was so great that only a divine intervention could have cleared it. Now, the council is insisting that the celebration they want for Queen Naomi is not the type where people just eat and drink. No. They want a sacred recognition. They want it to be documented in the history of the land of the Golden Crown that a woman stood where men had fallen. They told the Golden King that his own throne is safer today because of the jewel's courage. Can you imagine the tension in that room? The Golden King hearing that his own elders, the people he trusted, were the ones trying to sink his ship. And the one woman who was pushed out, who was mocked and called names, was the one who was actually holding the ship together. The council's voice was like a hammer hitting an anvil. They said the return of Queen Naomi is the only way to fully cleanse the land. Until she walks through those gates as a hero, the land of the Golden Crown will still have a debt to pay to the heavens. But wait, there is a secret meeting that happened after the council left. Rumors are flying that not everyone is happy about this obvious welcome. While the council is planning for honor, some others are planning how to make sure Queen Naomi never feels comfortable inside those walls again. The battle has moved from the physical into the very soul of the palace. Will the Golden King follow the advice of the mothers of the land, or will he listen to the whispers of those who still fear the land?
The final showdown is here, and the land of the Golden Crown is holding its breath. My crown gist friends and families, the air is so heavy right now that you could cut it with a jagged blade. We have reached the point of no return. The Golden King has heard the cry of the Council of Women, but the question that is making everyone's heart beat fast is, what was his final answer? The council didn't just leave after their long speech. They stood their ground, waiting for the Golden King to speak. They reminded him that Queen Naomi's mission was never about her own ego. It was about ensuring that the very foundation of justice, fairness, and integrity within the land of the Golden Crown was restored. They made it clear that without her, the 13 demonic elders would still be siphoning the people's wealth and using dark influences to terrorize innocent families. The intensity in the palace was at an all-time high. One of the women even wept as she described how the elders had hidden behind the aura of respect to commit atrocities that have left scars on the community for years. They told the Golden King that Queen Naomi had become a guardian, not just of him, but of the entire kingdom. Her intervention was the divine broom that swept the palace clean. Kabiesi, they said, the Bible says that your enemies shall come to your light and kings to the brightness of your rising. That light is Queen Naomi, and the time for her rising is now. The Golden King, known for his wisdom and his calm nature, finally looked up. The response from the throne was one of deep reflection. He acknowledged that the palace had indeed been through a season of great darkness and that the departure of the 13 elders was a necessary cleansing. He looked at the mothers of the land and thanked them for finally standing up for the truth. But as we speak, the date for the return of Queen Naomi is being discussed in the highest secrecy. They are looking for a day that aligns with the ancestors and the heavens, a day that will mark the beginning of a new era. However, we must be very careful with how we handle this news. My Crown Gate friends and family, please remember that all these details we are discussing are currently based on reports and updates making the rounds on social media. These are social media reports that have not been officially verified by the Palace office. So please, do not take this as absolute fact yet. We are just bringing you the gist as it is boiling online. But even if it's just a rumor for now, you can't deny the emotion behind it. People are waiting, people are praying. They want to see if Olorishedo and the others will truly embrace the return of the Queen or if another round of Palace Wahala is about to start. The story of the land of the Golden Crown is far from over. God has indeed restored the jewel, and it seems He is taking her even higher than she has ever been. The question remains, when that gate finally opens and Queen Naomi steps back onto the royal soil, will the whole of the land of the Golden Crown stand still? Only time will tell. I will keep my eyes open and my ears to the ground to bring you the very next update as it drops. This is Crown Gist, where the truth meets the tradition.